2. So now I deboned my chicken and I'm making bone broth today. So what you do is you just take whatever bones you have, put them in your slow cooker, and I don't have a lot of bones today, so I'm just going to kind of measure this. But what you do is you take a little bit of salt. You can always salt more later once the broth is done. Take 1 to 2 tablespoons of cider vinegar. I'm only going to do 1 because I don't, like I said, my chicken was really small. But this helps to break down the bone and get the collagen out of it. So don't skip this step, okay? And then all you do is get filtered water. You can use your refrigerator filtered water. I have extra distilled water left from another recipe I did before. And you're going to cover this over the top, probably about 12 cups, I would say. And what you're going to do is you're going to put your crock pot on high, and you are going to let this cook, oh my goodness, about 24 hours. So here's what I have. My chicken's all, I'm just going to fill it up here. My chicken is all in there. Now what we're looking for is this to go down in size to about half of what it is here. The more you cook it down, the more robust it's going to be. This is the first time I'm doing this, so I'll kind of play around with it, but this bone broth is going to be great for people with arthritis or inflammation, you know, all kinds of things like that. So like I said, it's a long process to cook it, but all you do is pour it in and go and leave it. So we'll come back in about 12 hours. Hi everyone, and welcome back to Jack and Cat Adventures. I wanted to tell you that the bone broth from the chicken that we were making, the bone stock, I had put that the bones and water in a crock pot, and I ended up adding some carrots and celery and things like that because it just didn't look bright enough to me, smell bright enough, I guess. So I let it go for 24 hours in the crock pot, and when I got up the next morning, it still hadn't reduced. So I put it into a pan, and I was going to reduce it myself. And I turned the pan on, and I walked away. And I always tell you, don't walk away from stuff on the stove. I did exactly what I told you not to do. I went upstairs to clean out a closet, forgot about the soup, and it burnt. So I'm going to try it over today with beef bones, because that's all I could get. I didn't want to cook a whole nother chicken, because we are like chickened out over here. So we just went to the grocery store and bought about 8 pounds of beef bones, and this has the marrow in it, and this is what you want. Don't just buy the beef bones that just have a little bit of meat on them. Make sure you get the ones that have the marrow, because if you're using this as maybe like, I don't want to say medicine because that's not what I'm saying, but it does help with arthritis and inflammation, helps with stomach problems. You want that marrow, that gel. It'll help all your joints and everything. So let's get started. So I'm just going to put the bones in this pot, and I do have some water in here because I don't know how much I'm going to need with the level of the bones going in. But you want at least 12 cups of broth. This is what I've read. And what you want to do is bring it up to a boil and then let it simmer for about 12 hours or however long you want. The more you boil it, the better the broth will be. It'll be like a stronger bone broth. Next, we're going to just add in some carrots, and I just needed to use up carrots, so I just put in whatever I had. You put in whatever you feel is good. I'm just going to put in like about that many peppercorns. If you don't have peppercorns, use regular pepper. It does not matter really. And then we have a bunch of celery, and as you can see, I also use the leaves on this because this gives the broth great flavor. So just toss all that in. And then I'm just going to cut you don't even need to cut anything. If you don't want to cut, just throw it in. I'm just cutting it because I think I'm hoping I could maybe get these vegetables and puree them. And that way it'll be good just to have some veggies. Okay. So I had these peppers in the refrigerator. I needed to use them. So I just took the seeds out and I'm just going to cut them in half. They're pretty small, so I don't really need to worry about anything. And like I said, this will cook down to nothing. These vegetables will become really, really soft and mushy, but that's where you're getting all your flavor from for this broth. All right, and then just on this garlic, just kind of pound it a little bit, just to release it, and put in as much as you want or as little as you want or none. It doesn't matter. I had garlic. All this stuff I needed to use up because I had been making soups the last couple of weeks, and so I had all this stuff for soup, and I just really needed to use it up, so I'm just throwing everything in. And make sure that once this comes up to a boil, turn it down to a simmer and watch it. It shouldn't be too bad with a pan like this big, but you never know. And if it starts to reduce and it hasn't taken like 12 hours or whatever, don't add more water, because then you're just diluting your broth. At that point, that's when you need to take it to eat at that point, if it's gotten down too low in your pan. Okay, so I'm going to add a little bit of salt to this and 2 bay leaves, and I'm going to put it on the stove, and I will let you know how it goes. Alright, so I wanted to bring you over and show you that this is really starting to come up to a boil. It started boiling before. I'm playing around with my stove right now because I'm trying to get it to a simmer. My stove, it's a hot stove, so I kind of got to fool around with that. But I wanted to tell you, I added turmeric to this. I didn't measure, I just poured some in. It's great for inflammation, and added with the bone broth, you have double the potency for inflammation. And I also added, that I forgot to tell you because I added it to the water before I put everything in, I did 2 tablespoons of cider vinegar. Now you can do 1 to 2 tablespoons depending on how many bones you have. And what it does is it breaks your bones down so that it gets all of that good collagen and all that good stuff coming out of the bones. So you definitely want to keep kind of stirring it and checking on it, and just get it to a simmer. It takes a long time, but it will be worth it when we're done. So I simmered this for 12 hours, and as you can see, it is down half. You can see by the rings where my water was. I'm going to shut it off now. I'm going to let it cool a little bit, and then I'm going to strain it out. And I haven't decided if I want to use the veggies to puree them and put them back in for more nourishment and flavor. I'm not sure I want to do that yet. I'm going to see how this looks when it's totally cool. We ended up taking a lot of fat off the top of this, and I'm keeping it because I think I might add it to the bowl of broth just a little bit each time I go to drink the broth. Might add a little bit of fat to it just to give it more flavor and, just taste-wise. So if you don't want all that fat on, just scoop it off like we did here and toss it. So that's it. Once this is cool and you have strained all of the stuff out and all you're left with is your clear broth, then you can start putting it in your jars. It'll stay in the refrigerator for about 5 days, but it will stay in the freezer for a very long time. Just remember when you put it in the freezer to leave a little bit of head space, or another, what it means is you leave a little bit of opening between the lid and the mouth of your jar, so that the water, when it expands in the freezer, it has room to expand and it won't crack your jars. So here's our finished beef bone broth, and it's very rich. It has the mouthfeel of kind of being a little greasy, which of course that's from the marrow, and that's what you want. The only thing I would say is add more flavorings, more salt, more pepper, more peppers, more carrots. It's very bland. I added salt and pepper before I closed them up, so I'll taste them again another day. But please like, share, comment, subscribe, and remember, you do you.